the idea of like Tekken being a super opaque, confusing, nightmarish game to get into, I think it's one I've been thinking about a bit recently, because it's increasingly, thanks, partly due to that Harada interview, it does make me think that like maybe it isn't necessarily the barrier to entry that I and others might have thought that it is. Maybe this is actually maybe the barrier to entry for Tekken is like a newbie selling point in some ways. Because like, going back to like when I used to like help out on writing guides, and
like you wrote that one back there, the Tekken 5, and I co-wrote the one next to it, so they're sitting side by side.
But at one point, these guys were working. I was talking to the guys. I think we'd been playing a bit of like Soul Calibur 4 in the beta, which was very funny. But they'd been playing this other game that they were working on. I was working on another one, and they were like, "We've been working on this game called Dark Souls, and it's super good. It's really hard, but it's it's fair, and it's got this really deep world. It's great. It's got a really fun combat system." So, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it sounds really good." And then so they made it. They put out the guide, which is apparently fantastic. Like probably pretty hard to get hold of now. And Dark Souls went on to become this big phenomenon. Years down the road, I tried playing Dark Souls. I was like, and people said, this game basically, it teaches you how to play it as you play it. It's very informative. It's got this deep combat system. And I played it for a bunch, and I was just like, what the fuck were these people talking about? What the fuck is going on? Because the game wasn't like it didn't really have a deep combat system. You couldn't do anything to any of the bosses. You just rolled and chopped them. You had a parry that didn't work on any boss. You had a block that hardly worked on any bosses. It was just rolling and chopping. The game was full of stuff which just killed you instantly. Mm-hmm. And which wasn't like, people were like, oh yeah, it's totally telegraphed. And I was like, no, it isn't. You just die the first time, and then not to die the second time. There were tons of parts of it where you just
Mega Man
kill you.
Level design, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I tried playing this game, didn't look on the internet. So I was like, people were like, oh yeah, this game really teaches you, it's really organic and so on. So I didn't look on the internet, didn't look up guides. I was just like, I'm going to play through Dark Souls. And it was a nightmare. Because...
Did you enjoy the nightmare though? Did you, at the end of it, did you feel accomplished that you died a bunch?
Because it was like the game told me things which, was a huge slog. I had to walk through the poison bits and whatever it is without any ring of bullshit. I fought bosses while I was hideously underleveled. I went in wrong directions because the game in the early going had told me that. Game in its early going had told me that if you progress into a level, it will loop back into your previous. It will, you will gain access to your previous points, right? And it just didn't. I just walked into a huge dead end, and it was like, now backtrack 3 hours because here is a wall. And I was like, I'm restarting this game, and I'm playing it with a guide open next to me.
Stop being such a scrub, Phil.
And again, that's why I personally hate single player games like that, with that like some Mega Man level design, or what was it? I want to be the guy, or whatever, stuff like that, where you kind of just have to die to something and then you play again and you know exactly what not to do or what to do. That's not fun to me. The concept of you have to have died to it to beat it is inherently not fun, right? That's just kind of just like, okay, next time I see it, I just won't get hit by it, right? The part about Tekken, I think that is cool to me, that kind of highlight, is the part that's kind of cool about any game, is that when you lose to something, you don't immediately know what the answer is, right? It's not a concept of, I have to die to this thing to know how to beat it. That sucks, right? No, it's, I died to this thing and I don't know how to beat it yet. The game didn't just exactly tell me. It presented to me a new problem, and for me to sit down and think about how am I going to overcome this problem is the point of playing a game in the first. That's why people sit down and play games, because they want to see a challenge and they try to figure out how to beat it. If the answer to beating it is just right there, Mega Man, you died to this thing, jump over next. It came off screen out of nowhere. You had no way of knowing, but now that you know, just jump. It's if the puzzle is that simple, it's not a puzzle. It's just knowledge check. Right? And
the thing about Dark Souls is that it was one of those things where I was like, it's insanely popular. Like after this, and it does many things like super well, like in level design and sort of tone and lore and sort of the characters even. But it was a game where I was both like I was very confused at like the narrative that came out of it, like the way people would talk about it. They would be like, "Oh yeah, it's super hard, but it's super fair." And just like, no, it isn't. Just like a sequence of generally pretty easy. There's nothing like genuinely challenging. There's no DMC jump cancelling or anything. There's no interlocking systems to learn like you would in like a DMC or a Bayonetta or something like this. It's mostly just, go through this, don't get hit at these points. And so I was sort of confused at then I realized like one of these things, the things that Dark Souls was doing is that it was democratizing difficulty, because you don't have to understand linking systems or anything really for Dark Souls. You just have to it's a game where almost anyone can actually play it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need super good execution. You don't need you don't need particularly fantastic reflexes. The main thing it asks from you is time. The things you don't do are it's the things that you do are, like I said, they're generally pretty easy, but they're horrendously punishing. Yeah. If you die at Ornstein and Smaug, whatever they are, you go back like 12 hours to the elevator. Okay, it's actually like 2 minutes, but it's really boring. You have to run all the way back to the bosses. The main thing is that the main thing it asks for you is time and specialist knowledge. And these two things are available to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think Namco Bandai owns both these series. I think, and I think basically that they're a lot of
Dark Souls players love Tekken and vice versa. There's like a huge cross.
Their development in how the series goes is that because it's hard to think of some of the balance changes from competitive or fun standpoint sometimes, but a lot of them are there, I think, to make to increase the dependence on specialist knowledge and just grinding the game out, or because you have to grind out tons and tons of situations, like Tekken 7 more than any other game, things like you said, down forward ones will track different ways at different frame disadvantages, all this kind of stuff. You just it increases that because everyone can do that. Not everyone is super good at reading 50-50s or going deep into Yomi mix-ups. Not everyone has super good everyone has super good fundamentals or execution.
Or it was an idea about difficulty, right? There's different types of difficulty, like you kind of mentioned on Dark Souls, right? And for Dark Souls, it's like you said, playing the game is easy, right? It's literally just about how much you know about the game. But do you know what's coming next to hit you, right? But when it comes to figuring out a game, you're going to, or overcoming a challenge in a game, you're going to run into maybe 3 different things, which is one, figuring out how you figure out the correct answer to a situation, right? The process of figuring it out. Like I said in Dark Souls, it's pretty, like you said, Dark Souls, it's pretty straightforward. You don't need to be super smart to figure out what the correct answer is after you just died at something, right? And then actually executing it, right? Or doing the counter. Is the counter something that is that requires the hard execution, like you said in Devil May Cry, right? Some things are super easy to figure out, but then super hard to do, or it requires you to get good at being able to do the thing to beat it. And then there was this nice mix in Tekken that required you to go through situations, figure out how, as you're going through situations, how are you going to figure out your answers to these situations. and then actually doing the training yourself to do the answers. Like, am I able to correctly time this block punishment on Bob's down back 3+4, like you mentioned, the 2-hit low. So you go through that process, and Tekken had an interesting mix where it demanded you to kind of have a little bit of mechanical ability to execute the punishes and stuff like that. But that's not the hard part of Tekken. The hard part, Tekken is not super. I think Tekken is also similar to Dark Souls, where as a fighting game, it's easy to execute things in Tekken, right? The things we're being asked to do in Tekken is way easier than most other, well, not new generation fighting games, but older fighting games.
Well, it depends on your character. Yeah. Generally, I would agree with you.
We have like 4, frame perfect requirement, the timing requirements. Like other games have like 1 frame links, hard,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like quick like conversions, all that stuff. Tekken doesn't really require any insane reactions. Does not require any insane execution for the most part. It doesn't require you to be a genius to figure it out. It does not require you to just kind of play like it's not as simple as like playing Dark Souls and just knowing all the answers immediately as you go through. It's a nice mix of like medium difficulty to figure out, medium difficulty to execute. And if you want to just kind of remove the part of figuring it out, then what you're left with is a game that's easy to figure out, that doesn't have much difficulty to execute things, and it's not.
I think there's plenty of difficulty in Tekken, and more interesting difficulty without these puzzles. Honestly, I mean, this is a subjective thing, of course, but that's not the part I find enjoyable about Tekken.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, yeah. So, like, basically, what it is, I'm listening to you guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What you find fun in this game is subjective. We haven't said that yet. It is subjective.
Right.
Aria, what you will find fun is going to be what you find fun. You said you enjoyed the kind of just the back and forth between you and your opponent when you play the game, and once you've understood the mind game and stuff, and you're in there and you're playing and it's fun. And of course, all of us do, right? I don't think anyone would disagree there. And it's because you said you specifically also enjoy the identifying a problem and figuring out how to get around it, and that's something that you really enjoy, right? But there's a lot of people that
I enjoy that too, but
that.
It's the particular problem, type of problem.
But I know, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people don't enjoy that, right?
Dark Souls fun though. Like,
depends on who you ask.
this is the thing: is that like a lot of like video games they're not like designed necessarily to be fun. They're designed to do things like pick up on different parts of your brain, like, and they're designed to do things like simulate jobs. Designed to like much of like grinding is essentially Skinner boxes, where it's essentially like de-risking things that you want to do, right? Instead of doing like one difficult thing in the real world, I can do like 10 fairly easy things on the internet, and each one of these will give me a tiny little like dose of satisfaction. But it might not like a lot. So you get a lot of games which are designed to be grinds. They're designed to
or in the
take
case
time.
of Tekken, we're designed to make people pump nickel into it by making them opaque.
Exactly, and that's what I was. And this sort of occurred to me back when Tekken 6 came out, because I looked at Tekken 6 and like everyone else, I just thought, what the fuck is going on here? This is trash. Like, as I've said before, we all played it. We met Tishumon from Japan. He was just like, everyone hates this game. It's rubbish. This game's so shit. I was like, what's going on with this game? It was sluggish movement. It was big wall combos. It was backfilling strings. It was genericizing punishment. It was all the stuff that people complain about in Tekken 7, but this was the first time they really did it. It was Tekken 6.0. Like, it was the first time where it was like, oh yeah, the problem with Brian, and if you like the issues with Brian in DR, that he didn't have a fast mid, he didn't have really powerful low, and so they were like, all right, here's down forward 2-1, got 13 frame mid now, and his hatchet kick. And you can have taunt nerfed and forward 3 nerfed. Like generic moves up, unique moves down. But also, like, they made every move, pretty much every move in a character's move list became much more useful. Became, you know, as opposed to just being stuff you just chucked in the trash, lots more of characters' move lists became effective. Sometimes not even particularly effective, but like can catch you off guard level good. Is Dragunov's back 2-1 a good move? It is probably not. But
throw it in once in a while.
Are you going to block it the first time you see it in the tournament? Are you going to duck it the first time you see it in the tournament? But so I found myself thinking, like, why are they doing this? Like, seems like a objectively a step back from DR. No one liked the thing about when people played Tekken 5. They were like the problems people had. They were like, all combos do too much damage and they take too long. Then Tekken 6 came out and they were like, here's dial-a-string combo extenders, which will take you all the way to the wall. The wall system is now 5 times more lenient, and everyone gets disgusting damage off it. And I was just like, what's going on? This doesn't seem like it's a response to like player feedback at all. Tekken 6 was the most popular arcade Tekken around. Like, it was the most popular Tekken had ever been at the arcade. And I think it's because, you know, partially it allowed access to powerful tools to everyone, like big wall combos. You know, Brian is no longer dash jabs. Brian is just, you get them up in the air, 2 moves, jab, back 3, forward 4, 1, 2, run up, back 1, blah, 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 blah. You cannot miss wall conversions in any Tekken past 6. They stay on the wall for a century compared to DR.
Looney Tunes.
But like, it was super popular. It got, and like I started to think, like, you know, there is an RPG element to this game now. There is an element of people are sitting there. They don't necessarily want to like have this. You know, a big part of what is appealing to people is not necessarily the, you know, back and forth playing, playing against the other person's mind kind of thing, but it is the knowledge check. It is the fact that now your characters are now becoming so complete and so complicated. You can just go out with them and spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours just playing your character, exploring their move list, and just trying to learn the stuff that's coming back to you. It made, I think, the fact that it was confusing and difficult and like alienating, I think genuine in some ways it might have helped. Like, I think genuinely some people might have, like, a lot of people have genuinely responded to that.
I mean,
the grindiness of it.
The puzzles got easier. If that makes, there's less to, when you have more to work with and more straightforward answers, and the game just asks you to learn more, like, you know, learn more answers to questions, then it just becomes much easier to get into the game instead of figuring out how do I make this Ryan character with no fast mid, you know, an 8-frame jab, and, you know, it's like, you know, no real good lows. Like, how do I make him work in neutral? You know, instead of trying to solve the fighting game part, it made it easier once you have learned all your tools and, you know, learn all the things of the game. But it shifted more of the, you know, the work into learning the tools, learning the question or the answers and questions. And
I think people also like having specialist knowledge that other people don't have. Like, it's a big thing to be able to, like, say to people, oh, you didn't know about XYZ. You didn't know that Ling's, you know, the optimal Kali roll punish for against Ling is actually XYZ. You know, there's a lot of social mediation going on there.
To me, I hate that.
There's a lot of like people, you know, people can make themselves feel like they've achieved this level where they understand what the gameplay loop of, you know, like the Dark Souls thing, for example. You know, specialist knowledge is at a premium in that game because there's a point, like I said, there's a point where you have to wade through poisoned water in order to get to a boss, right? If you don't want to wade through the poisoned water, what you have to do is at a certain level, when you've gotten powered up to a certain point, but probably not after that, that you have to go up a lift, roll off the edge, jump off another thing, walk around like a series of stuff, find something which looks like a bird's nest and crouch in it for 10 seconds, then get carried away to another level where you will complete it and find the thing that allows you to wade through the water. Like you, like specialist. But the thing is that like the game, when you master it, makes you feel like a hacker. Like you've exploited the system. Like I'm the one that knows things, and you're the one that the game doesn't. Like that's why it's such a kind of speedrun classic. Is that it's sort of the kind of hacking and exploiting of the game is sort of how it was designed to be played.
Yeah, that stuff is so nerdy. That stuff is so nerdy to me, and I'm a nerd. I think it's like it's got to be super nerdy, right? Like, but
like yeah. So like the thing is that like the Tekken like the specialist knowledge is I think it's something that I think probably binds the community together at least as like it might be binding it together more than we think, and like less than because it would be nice to think of the idea that if we made Tekken much more approachable, more people would enjoy it. We would have a stronger scene, more people to play, and so on. But like specialist knowledge is, I think, specialist knowledge and grind and these things like these are genuine selling factors for this game. I mean, apart from the fact that it'd be impossible to clean this stuff out, like unless you somehow you would build a game that just wasn't Tekken anymore.